Stroke of Luck. I'm ReneMarie, and this is really very privileged show for me. Back in 2012, when my father passed, really started the journey to be able to give back to the world. My father, I'll never forget when I had my stroke, my father, his only mission was to help me get better and to not have to worry about one single thing in my life, and to focus on my recovery. And I remember, like, every single bill that we had, he just said, give them to me, give them to me, give them to me. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He wanted me and my husband at the time to focus on really recovering from my stroke. And when my father passed, he gave me so many signs that it was time for me to take the lead on being an advocate to help those that their insurance ran out. And I really know that it's my purpose in life to help those, as well as a stroke awareness and aphasia awareness. So when he passed in 2012, 2013, I think he passed in 2012, 2013, I just said to a confidant, I said, you know, I'm going to start a foundation. And I started a foundation in 2013 with the, what's the name, Incorporated, what's the name, Tricia?
Incorporate.com.
Incorporated.com. And I knew I didn't have the capabilities of, first of all, I know God was guiding me because everything I was doing was just preparing. I prepared a website, I prepared, you know, I prepared a mission statement, I prepared everything. I just got everything ready for that. I created incorporation. And then I asked the incorporated.com, like, okay, I need help to get my 501c3. Plus, don't forget, we were already working on our telethon. So we needed a place that we could have those donating on the telethon to an organization that was a 501c3. We had to make it a reason for them to help us. First of all, because I was just a vision back then. I mean, this was all in my brain. So for those that supported me on this dream and vision that I had is really a gift from God. So I asked the company to help me get a 501c3. And that's when our guest today and her husband, Tricia and Mark, really came into the picture. Incorporated.com connected me with Tricia, and she was just marvelous and really a gift at helping me because I had no capabilities of doing this correctly to get us, you know, a 501c3 as soon as we needed it. And it really was a gift. So I'm not going to say any more about it. I'm going to open up the panel and really let everybody tell their story. And of course, we have Judy on, and we have our other board member, Ginny. Judy, of course, is a board member. She's the main person who helps this TV program every week or every other week, and she works on it constantly to run. Without Judy, this program will not be able to run. And then, of course, we have Ginny. She works on the telethon and all the back end stuff with us. So, Jim, can you open up the screen? So this is really, really very personal. I mean, it's been 2014 was when we got it. So it's been 7 years, almost 7 years that I applied. 7 years in a few weeks that I applied. So thank you for opening up the panel, Jim. And let me, Judy, hi, thank you for joining. Of course, you know, my co-host.
Do you want me to do the introduction?
Yes, just give me 2 seconds so when I introduce everybody. And then we have Ginny. And then, of course, we have Tricia and Mark. Thank you for joining us, Tricia and Mark. And thank you for being in my life. You're really a gift to us.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us. It's a joy to be here. It's
Oh
early.
I know you're out in Colorado, so you're 3 hours, right?
It's 2.
2.
2 hours. Oh, that's not that bad. I thought it was 3 because you live in Las Vegas, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Because I remember. So Judy, just do the intro for us, and then we'll get to talking with everybody about what they do.
First, I'd like to welcome Tricia and Mark. Tricia's mission is to help people with achieving their goals of building a better world with greater possibilities and prosperity, a world that educates and inspires its youth, demonstrating that united together, we have the capacity to find solutions to problems by applying our collective minds, voices, and efforts. Together, we can confront the challenges of poverty, eliminate suffering, reduce child mortality, respect the world's creatures, protect our environment, understand various cultures, celebrate the arts, honor our veterans, increase awareness of illness and disease, and connect people with higher purpose. A vision for the world where people have meaningful employment and a sense of fulfillment and contribution. Mark is a member of the National Association of Enrolled Agents and a National Tax Practice Institute Fellow, and his passion is in helping others get started and achieving extraordinary results with their nonprofits. The Nonprofit Advisor Group is comprised of federally licensed tax professionals authorized to represent individuals and companies in all matters before the Internal Revenue Service. There are 16 years of experiences working with nonprofit startups. All our entrepreneurs are eager to share what they have learned in business and in life, and are accredited with the Better Business Bureau and have an A+ rating. They want all working with them to be 100% delighted and guarantee that their organization will be approved in the least amount of time. Nonprofit Advisor Group founders are in demand as speakers and tax experts, educating thousands of people annually at live workshops, seminars, and online webinars. So let's welcome Tricia and Mark.
Nice.
Thank
Thank you.
Recording in
Thank
progress.
you so much. That is very sweet.
Yes, thank you. And every word is true. And I got to take a moment to just, I always like to capture the moment. And I really believe that without knowing, God connected us, because there was probably plenty of other people who did what you do for that company. And for God to choose us to come together because our visions and our purposes are actually the same, just to make the world a better place, really is a God thing. In my world, it's a God thing. So Tricia, I have to begin with you. Like I'm not sure you remember back, 7 years ago. Do you remember receiving you do? Okay. So talk a little, you probably had to go, I kind of think about that because they're probably going to ask, but I really just want your input into our beginnings.
So I actually remember almost all the clients because I work so intimately with each person. And all of our customers and our people that we work with have, just like you, a really unique or special or very meaningful reason for starting their foundations. And a lot of times they're very, very personal, and they involve all different types of things. Like it could be very emotional, it could be tragic, it could be very joyful. So there's so many different reasons why people are starting something. It's about hope, creating hope, education. There's so many areas where we work with our people. So it's a very intimate process, and I get to know you very well. It's very sweet and connecting. And so I was really, really impressed with you, Renee. I really loved your story. And when I found out that you sang and, you were writing a book, and I know that you wanted your book to be part of the nonprofit too. And I was sharing with you that, yes, you could do that. And I thought it was really amazing, the different things that you were going to do to put the message out there about, what had happened to you and how you had your visit with God, and how, that he gave you that message that it wasn't your time. That he wasn't coming to take you, but he was going to let you come back. And I thought the most interesting part of it was, you had the takeaway, which was you had, the purpose. You found your purpose. And
I had to work for God.
Right. And so a lot of my people, have something that's a calling, and it comes from whatever their callings or the things that happen with them. And so that's really special, and it's very touching. And it's interesting, that you have a telethon and you do all these different things. And earlier Jim was sharing how, how devoted you were to making that drive to go up to Long Island. And I'm not really familiar with all of that, but I mean, that takes a lot of commitment, as you've been doing this for a long time now.
Yeah.
7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you for
celebrate a win is what we say, because
Yeah.
people give up sometimes, and you haven't. You've endured, and I saw, your episode April last year, where we all, or it was in 2020, last year, and we all could not come together. So it was very rough year, and I think, like you, we did the same. We no longer could go out and meet people in person and things like that. And we had to make that transition to be online and connect with people in a new way. And you already were doing that, but I think even more so. And this Zoom thing came out of nowhere, we were all on Zoom all of a sudden.
Yeah, Zoom actually worked out. I mean, we used to do Skype. Skype wasn't as as easy as Zoom. And actually, Judy's able to book around the world. We've had Australia. We've had,
California.
We've had other states.
We've had the whole world.
Yeah, so it really is a blessing for this. I mean, I never want to take away that the tragedy that has happened in the pandemic, like that, we can't even fathom the people that were lost, and the loneliness that people were feeling, and I mean, I feel blessed because my grandmother was in a nursing home till October of 2019 or 2018. When was the pandemic? 2020. So 2019, and she passed away. And what a blessing that she passed away, because I would have been like freaking out. Like I couldn't go to her bedside. I was at her bedside every night. So for me to not be able to see her, I have such compassion for those families. Like it's just heartbreaking. And then those that lost people, it was really a tragic, but with new growth and new people inventing themselves, and they just, became. So have you gotten many new clients because of the pandemic? Have many people wanted to start nonprofits?
Yes, absolutely. The interesting thing that happened for Mark and I was when the pandemic started in March, and we freaked out. We freaked out for our clients, because all of our existing people that were nonprofits were at a crossroads. They weren't going to be able to have those fundraisers, those live events, all those golf tournaments, all the things that they were going to do to connect with their communities or go out and help the individuals that they were there to serve. And so that was like huge, because there was this widespread, like, oh no, now what, right? And so we had to really get out in front of it and get online and communicate and provide some additional training so that our people would know how to embrace this, how to move through this. And then the Internal Revenue Service introduced some incentives for people to continue to donate to nonprofits, so that there was a lot of value for people to continue to help donating to the existing nonprofits. And then through that, I think people were online. People were online so much that they were looking around and they were wanting to make a change, to help and to reach out. I mean, Mark, what are some of the things that you think about that?
Well, I think what happened too was interesting for us, because we spent 4 years pretty much on the road speaking at a lot of different events, a lot of different people. And it was that interaction and meeting people face to face and hearing their stories, that, traveling wasn't always easy, but it was very rewarding to be able to meet and touch people. And then we did a workshop in late February of 2020. In person. So we would do trainings, and we have clients come in, and a lot of fun, a lot of interactive stuff. And, you know, Tricia had a doctor's appointment. So she goes to the doctor, and then she came back to the event, and we were on a break, and she says, you know, something really weird's happening. There's all this freaking
scary.
out about stuff, right? And we concluded that. And then, you know, I actually had a couple people reach out to me that were there and said, did anybody get sick? You know, and I'm like, no, I mean, why would they even ask? But
Yeah.
I think what happened though, which we talk about, the silver lining, to your point, Renee, as tragic as this was, I think it created a lot of new awareness for people, right? People had to adapt and do different things. And in the nonprofit world, for example, things like homeschooling and education, right, became a really big topic, whether it was groups of moms getting together and, you know, creating their own, you know, micro schools. And of course, schools and almost any kind of educational program qualifies for tax exemption. So we had a number of things like that, people that were really focused on health and wellness. And they might have been healers, they might be yoga instructors, people like that, that were realizing, wow, I could expand my reach through Zoom and also do this as a nonprofit, right? So, and then I think a third thing that happened that was significant was all the social change and upheaval from the election in 2020, from Black Lives Matter, and a lot of different things that, you know, made people think, right? Almost like when we were kids in the 60s, you know, it's how old we are, but we were kids, but you know, the Vietnam War and civil rights and women's rights and, you know, difficult topics like abortion and things like that. A lot of these things came forward. And so one thing that's very rewarding for both of us is that we work with such a diverse group of people and a diverse group of agendas. And, you know, they don't know us. Most people have found us online. Or we got referred by CPAs and attorneys or other companies, because we primarily work now all on referrals. We don't do any marketing or advertising. And so, you know, we never know what we're going to get. And that's been really, really rewarding too.
Tricia, I'd like to ask you both, have any of your clients been doing on Zoom fundraisers? Because our local Rotary Club has been doing fundraisers on Zoom. So I'd like to know and share with the audience whether other companies out there or other clubs are doing fundraising on Zoom.
Well, we always did our fundraising on Zoom. Don't forget, we did it through the internet. It wasn't initially on Zoom. It was initially through Madhouse TV and Village Connection, and then we adapted to Zoom. So I understand your question, Judy. That's a good question. So have anybody done that?
Absolutely. I mean, there's all different mediums for people to connect with their audiences. Obviously, video is powerful. People want to see this. They want to be together. They want to connect now virtually like this. But in the past, before this, there was more of the online recorded like video content and things like that. And did you want to add to that?
I did.
Okay.
Well, we have a good story. You're going to want to tell the story, but
okay.
One of the clients that happened to be in Las Vegas that we met in person, she even came to an event and spoke about her journey. She's a young gal. I think at the time she was about 27 years old. And, you know, long story short, she has a sister that has a very severe disability. And there were after school programs, let's say, for young adults with disabilities that were either canceled or underfunded in Las Vegas. So she had this goal to start a place where people with disabilities, young adults, could continue education and have something to do and hang out and social interaction and all of that. It was very ambitious for somebody her age. And right in the middle of starting this, we did the IRS process for her. We did some coaching with her to help her along. Really sweet gal. Just a month or two before she was ready to open, her father passed away suddenly. He was only about 50 years old. He was a big driver in her life, but, you know, she had to overcome a lot of things, meaning get a physical location, hire people, instructors and trainers that were qualified to work with people with special needs, all of that. And then, of course, she's up and running. She's doing great fundraisers, in-person stuff, all kinds of things. Great connectable gal too, very photogenic. Everybody likes her. She really worked the in-person stuff well. Then, of course, COVID hits. And, none of the worst part about it was not just the fundraising aspect that she could no longer do in the way she was used to, but her students or the participants had nowhere to go, right? And these were individuals that were used to a routine, They made friends, they made connections with the instructors. They were growing to the extent that they could. It all ended. So what did she do, Tricia?
Well, she got on Zoom and she started creating activities through Zoom for her people that were the participants, because these are all young adults with really severe disabilities, and that they could see each other. And they did all different types of craft things, or they did little comedy routines, or sang, or whatever the individuals wanted to do. And they had their little group sessions privately through Zoom. And then she started to reach out, and she really got clever and realized the power of, she didn't need to just be in our community in Las Vegas, that she could expand her reach outward and get more participants. And so she created like a special fee program, and then the people were able to participate from outside of the state of Nevada in all different areas, and their young people were able to be in this program.
Yeah, and and to Judy's question, her model became a subscription model,
right? Yeah.
Where people paid a monthly fee, the parents, to have their individuals participate. And so, that fee for service model, which a lot of people don't necessarily know, that in the nonprofit world, you can absolutely charge fees for service, right? And if you think in the large scale nonprofits, things like Harvard University and Vanderbilt and USC, they're all nonprofit tax exempt. They obviously pay salaries and benefits. Hospitals too. Many hospitals are tax exempt. They pay salaries and benefits and all those things. So her fundraising shifted from more of that traditional model of in-person events to a subscription payment model. And she was able to dramatically expand the number of participants. And a byproduct obviously was to expand her impact as well.
What we did here on Long Island in our Rotary Club was name that tune. You had to pay, each member of the club paid a certain amount of money to participate. And then there were group leaders that would sing a few words of a song, and they would have to guess what the name of the song was. And the money would be collected from a wide source and given to the local food pantry. And that was one of many fundraisers that we did on Zoom.
Judy, did you do Elvis?
Yes, of course. My husband did Elvis. He actually had his opening music, and everybody didn't see him, and they're going, "Where is he?" And then he came on and said he just came in from Memphis, talked in his Elvis voice, and gave them a number of songs, one of which they did not get at all. Wow. And it was from a movie.
Our vision for the foundation is to have a representative in each state. We've begun that process so that we could make sure that we're covering each state with our awareness and our mission for our foundation. One of the things that we're expanding to is now we've become so big, not so big, we're not huge, but we're getting to the next level that we actually need more help. How do we go about getting more volunteers? Because you don't want to say no to anybody, which I don't like to say no to anybody, but they actually have to be people that are going to engage and really be a part of the mission. So do you have any recommendations for that?
Well, when we're recruiting people, it's important to get people that are in alignment with your values. And in your case, even more, your purpose, right? So, but your values is the main place to start from. And that's going to be probably easier for you because you're very open and you're very clear about what those are. So we know that if we're going to connect with you, there's going to be certain things, and probably you only attract those types of people. A lot of people whose values are out front, they tend to make it so positive and open that that's who they tend to attract. So I would believe that that's the kind of people that you attract. I think that maybe, creating like some type of virtual connection where you're reaching to people to make that recruiting effort, letting them know what you want, but what are your expectations? People really need to know what they're signing up for. What does that mean? They want to know how much of the commitment is important to you, but it's also important to them to know what's their investment of time. So those are really important things. Did you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, I think, we do trainings and we talk about just to business owners, proximity isn't a good way to find anything, right? Like whether it's your mate or friendships, or, I mean, it's convenient, but to Tricia's point, people are just because they sit next to you doesn't mean they're in alignment with your values or your mission. And clearly you're past that. I mean, you're very clear about that. I think there's a couple of things though that maybe nonprofits miss. I think doing the values exercise, and including with all the people that are on in your board right now, right? And getting clear if you've ever done that and actually written them down and said, these are the ones we agree to, right? Now you're all in alignment intuitively, but I think, quantifying that into words is very important, right? So that would be one thing I would suggest. Another thing is that there's so many tools and technologies that we miss this. And by the way, we are so grateful because most of the things that we learn about what's going on, nonprofits come from clients. So for example, if you're a 501c3, you can run ads on Google for free.
Oh,
right?
wow.
I'll say that again. You can run ads on Google.
Thank you for letting us know that.
Now, let's say, for example, you want to open chapters in other locations, right? And getting people that are in alignment with the values and the mission. I mean, what more powerful tool do you have than Google, right?
Yeah.
And or I'd like to say too that, certain agendas have a certain level of connectivity. So in your agenda and mission, for people that have had that experience, whether personally or a family member, it's a very emotional, very connected situation, right? So, we work with a lot of organizations that are veterans organizations or religious organizations and ministries. Well, that has its own connectivity. So because you have that and you're looking for a certain individual or person with experience level, I think Google Ad Grants, which is the free program, and all you got to do is Google.
Excuse
Google
me,
Ad
say
Grants.
that again.
Google Ad Grants.
Google Ad
Grants.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll also send you a training for the values exercise.
Oh, thank
And
you, Tricia.
Did you send it to both of us?
Oh, absolutely. I'll send it to you. And then also, I think we have a mini one on the Google Ad.
We
Grants,
do,
don't
yeah.
We? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to do that and getting clear. And I think another thing that we've, again, I reference trainings because we've done trainings online and in person for a number of years. I think also identifying what are the skill sets that you guys could do this collectively as a board. What are the skill sets that you're looking for, right? So if technology is not your strong point, then seeking a person that can put together, whether it's websites or what we'll call lead capture, ways to get names of potential donors, and even some of the more advanced stuff that we've been looking at, like donate by text. I was on a webinar to learn about this, and I'm like, people donate by text? Like, really?
I never
Is that
heard
a
of
thing?
Oh,
But it's huge, right?
It's huge.
And especially
We've
with
done it
young
already.
people.
We've done it already.
Okay,
We've done it
great. So
already. Yep.
yeah. So I think looking at those things and seeking out skill sets that maybe you don't have, right? So as you scale up, a legal person, somebody that's an attorney, an accountant, all these folks can be valuable, people with marketing connections, things like that.
Yeah, it really is a gift that you're sharing this information with us because like everybody that's watching this program, and we hope that the rewinds are used. You're giving so many, you're really sharing it with the world. And it really is important tools. I mean, I had no idea, Judy and Ginny probably had no idea that Google didn't charge for ads. And that's a huge, Google, just think about Google. It's so big, so that's, oh my gosh. What's the name of your company? Like if somebody was to Google you, what is the name of your company?
Our company is Nonprofit Advisor Group. So that was Nonprofit Advisor Group.
And where could they find you on the website? www.nonprofit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What is it?
Well, it's start a 501c3.org.
Oh, okay.
Start501c3.org. But if you Google nonprofit advisor, we come up, or our names. You know, we're pretty out there, so we're not hard to
Yeah,
find.
you,
So-
Just say that one more time.
Start a
501c3.
.org.
So do they need to, can they incorporate with you, or do they need to
Yes.
incorporate with somebody else and go and then use you?
we are full service, so we
Okay.
do everything for them. And we have partnerships with different firms around the US that don't specialize in what we do. And so we have some exclusive organizations and firms that we are an exclusive vendor to them or partner, and we do the work for their clients. So, but we are full service on our own as well.
Do you,
I think
I'm sorry, Mark.
No, that's okay.
Do you have a list, or is there a list of those connections of partners on your website, or do we need to go through you to get them?
No, we do not list that out there.
And then my other question to you is, what other services do you provide? Mark, did you want to say something before?
Yeah, I think it's in alignment to that question. One of the things that, you know, we've evolved over time is we developed a very high level of competency related to this whole IRS stuff, right? And so, you know, people think in terms of paperwork, and all that part is true. And there's, I think one of the funnest things we do, and this is going to sound funny, but we have to write a narrative description of what the organization's about, right? And so, you know, since they're all different, it's like writing a book report or a business plan all in one. So, you know, these are the technical aspects, and in some of the more difficult agendas, there are hot button items we know the IRS has, and so we're going to address those. But I think the real value add is Tricia, number one, because everybody loves Tricia. And, you know, we have 4,000 plus clients. And so if you go to BBB or you go to our website, there's testimonials on there. They're all from 2015 or back. We haven't added any since. I mean, you know, they love Tricia. She knows every single client, knows them by name, knows their agenda. I think that's amazing. We also have really good competencies in what happens after, right? So when I was in the dry cleaning business, starting from my early 20s, you know, we would go and open stores, right? Dry cleaning stores. And you'd go through a 6 month to a year process of permitting and buying equipment and, you know, leases and negotiating. There was chemicals and all kinds of stuff going on with that business. And then what happens? Well, the doors open, and that's when the business starts, right? It's just, all the other stuff's prep work. So the stuff that we do with the IRS and getting 501c3 status is really the prep work. And where our value add comes in, which is different than a lot of companies, is, you know, we coach and work with the people to be successful. And for the life of their organizations, you know, we don't charge a monthly, we don't charge a reoccurring fee. If Renee, you have questions, or Judy, you know, you can just reach out and, you know, we'll answer it for you, or we'll look it up and find out the answer. A lot of what we do
Mark, we really appreciate that.
And we
Tricia.
just did that recently, right, Tricia?
Yes.
We had a question about our 501c3, about our foundation, and
Right.
we reached out, and Tricia, and she just got on the phone with us, and she helped us work through it. She
Right.
looked on the IRS and all that kind of stuff. So yes, we acknowledge what you're saying.
Well, a funny story too, you know, when we started to scale this up in 11 and 12, we started doing some Facebook ads, right? And nobody knew us, and we would do webinars and actually make an offer from the webinar, and people would sign up. We were like, wow, this is amazing. It's really going to be a business. How about that? Well, you know, most of the people, 90%, especially back then, we never met. Now we met more people as we did live events, but you know, so we have people that have been with us since, we'll call those the early days, that we've never met, and they're like family to us. I mean, I could go down a list of names, and of course, Tricia, it's just incredible. And then every once in a while, when we were doing workshops, you know, we'd say, hey, come on out, and we'd meet them. And it was like meeting family. You know, it was so cool to be able to have that experience. And because some of the individuals' agendas and things they were doing were so intimate, you know, and the things that they had to share, right? And Tricia being a female and having that empathetic ear and understanding is very important. That's why all the testimonials are about her and not about me. So I'm the back office guy. I'm not the front man. So,
but
That's
you,
very important too, Mark.
yes, but you work well together. It takes a team to
we do.
be successful. You wouldn't be where you are if you weren't together. making it work.
Thank you.
Tricia may be the front ends, but you know, I love the way she asks you and involves you in the conversation. So you're a great partnership. You're
I
a
actually
great
have a
partnership.
question for you, Renee.
Okay.
So we're going to be starting something new in January, and we are actually
Can I
starting.
say yes before you ask me? No, go ahead.
It's a podcast. We're going to be doing a podcast, and the podcast is going to be all of our clients and their stories. And we would really be honored if you would be a guest on one of our
Yes.
episodes, because we would love for you to share your story and reach more people and share with what it is you need, you know,
thank
and
you.
whatever it is. Yeah. And so we're going to be launching that in January, and we're super, super excited because just like you're so amazing, and the impact and the work that you're doing to touch people is really powerful. And when we were getting started, before we even started this, we were just chatting before when we got online together with you. I almost started crying just seeing you, because it feels like we're together. You know, we're not just on a telephone, and
Yes.
and just kind of revisiting the feeling of, you know, the connection with the people that we have. You're gonna really enjoy it, and I think you would be a marvelous guest. One that will
Thank you.
really
Yes,
connect with people.
Yes, thank you for thinking of us and inviting us. You know, it would be an honor. It would be an honor. And that's why I
be
said,
on Facebook or on the radio. Like, I know that WOR has podcasts on the radio, and this is a great topic this is a great broadcast you could do. Where is it available?
Well, it's not
Everybody
yet.
to
It's coming in
No,
January.
but where will it be available?
Where will it be available?
Well, it's
honey?
going to be on its own hosted website, and then we'll be promoting it through the typical channels, which are like Apple Podcasts and other ones. But we will promote it pretty aggressively on Facebook. We've got a decent following. We've somewhat ignored it a little bit because we haven't been doing, you know, marketing. It's no longer that wasn't critical for client acquisition. But this is something that Tricia and I have wanted to do for a really long time. We're actually doing it through our nonprofit. It's called Contribution Revolution, and it's all about people that are giving back. You know, one of the things that's been amazing for us is how many wonderful people there are. You know, if you watch the news or you read the news, I mean, there's so much negativity and, you know, horribleness, right? And so, you know, what we want to do is share good stories. Now, the origin might not always be something that was positive, but how people overcame challenges and you know, really turned that into something important in helping other people. And we're very, very blessed to have just an amazing group of people, you know, like you guys are right on this today. And so we want to share their stories, and we also want to extend that to a little bit of fundraising and letting people know how they can support this organization, right? So that they see a founder of something that impacted or touched them. Not every topic's going to be interesting to every person. Is they go, well, I'm not really, you know, we have a lot of obscure topics out there. So some people will resonate with that and others won't. And that's okay too. But when they connect with you, we want to give them a call to action so that they can donate or get involved, or if they want to open a chapter. So these are things to think about before we do this, right? So that if you...
I just want to point out that there are organizations that do this kind of thing, that do podcasts and are on WOR radio.
Okay.
And they have big listening bases, and it goes across the United States. So I definitely suggest you look into it.
Thank you.
I will.
it's
Thank
funny
you
because
very
710 WOR 710.
Okay.
it's funny, before you even asked me that question, one of the things that I have written down is to ask you, like, maybe one day you can have a Zoom or have a personal gathering of all your clients. Wouldn't that be so empowering to have everybody there? I want to sing while we're there, but just because my vision is to get, Judy will tell you, I've always been a singer. So I said, everybody that I've met along the way, God, it would be such a blessing to be able to have them in Yankee Stadium and to be able to fill up that stadium and just lift the voices and lift the spirits and really just enjoy, you know, life because life is really very
This is the
challenging.
ultimate goal.
This is
Now,
actually, it's very interesting that you said that, because that's also another one of mine and Mark's goals, has been for a long time. This past year and a half that we haven't been traveling due to COVID has really given us the opportunity to take a step back. We were so busy, we never had time to really focus on our desires and our really the things that were really deep within us, like our podcast. But the other thing we really wanted to do is have a live event with our clients, one where they get to be, on stage, like Marie, Renee, you're up there, singing, and we have other people that maybe they have a really awesome thing that they can share too. So that is in the works. We've got to get through the COVID part, so we can all come together openly, because it will probably be a very connectable event. How long have we wanted to do that?
Oh, for years.
10 years, like 8 years, 10 years.
I've spoken at large events with like 800, 1,000 people. Tricia's always been there with me. And, it wasn't our event, and we came in as guests, and it was great. But because now the client base we have, and, the number of interesting people and their stories, we do have some other people that sing. I got to warn you. So. Yeah, they're pretty good. I think some of them are pretty good. But, when we did the workshop, it was in partnership with a law firm. So we didn't have total control of that. We'd have maybe 60, 70 people, but it was all about like kind of technical stuff, right? It wasn't so much about sharing. And although we would bring in, if we had a local client, we'd bring them in, people that train service animals, they'd come in with a service animal. It's really cool. We had a young gal that works with individuals with Parkinson's and brain disorders, and she's partnered with a Lou Ruvo brain clinic and the Cleveland Clinic. So she would come in and talk about how she works with people that, are having difficulty with movement and tremors and things like that. So, those kind of in-person demonstrations really open up people's minds and go, wow, this is incredible, right? I didn't realize there were folks doing this stuff. And we really want to scale that.
I've always felt like, first of all, you want to surround yourself with people that have like minds, and God, for everybody to come together would just empower us in such a vast way, like it would just energize us. It's almost like a Tony Robbins, like
exactly. That's exactly what we feel.
Yeah, everybody coming together and like, oh my God, and you take that and you fly when you leave. I mean, it's incredible. And then the other thing is like, people, through 7 years we've been doing this, and we've had other foundations and other organizations like yourself. And I want to hear a little bit more about your organization. But, people are like, how could you talk about that? You got to worry about your organization. And to me, it's like, let's just come together. Let's all come together. And my feeling is that if you're not, everybody should giving back to something, whether it's our organization, but you have to give to something. You have to give back to the Red Cross. And I've also been in the place where I remember going through my coat pockets for pennies. Like sometimes you can't. So just help us with prayer or help us with sharing. It takes 2 seconds, but just, giving back is really the way to move forward. That's my feeling. So
I wholeheartedly agree.
Absolutely. And, and part of this too, is that not everyone needs to start their own nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not for everybody. And there's already an abundance of organizations. So a lot of like our podcast goal is just to get people that are not starting their own, but be able to connect with something that they go, oh, this is important to me. And I didn't realize this organization was out there. That's really a big part of it. It's not so much for us to generate new business. It really isn't about that. It's really to celebrate the clients and to let them shine. We did our first one with a wonderful gal that she came to a workshop. We hadn't met her. It was funny because she told the story on the podcast, and when we release this, you guys will see it, but about how she kind of followed us on Facebook for a year.
Because she was really young and she was afraid to contact us. She didn't know if I was really real, and she felt I was sincere through through the, you know, video and all of that. But she was afraid, you know, and so she took a year, and then she finally called me, and it was really cute. And I've actually had another lady back east who did the same thing. She was afraid. She kept following me for a year. And because I was in Las Vegas, she was like, well, I don't really know if this is going to be a good fit, you know? And then this other lady was in New York. She bumped into a lady who had an animal rescue, and she'd asked that lady, who helped you start your nonprofit? And that woman who had the animal rescue said it was me. And so the New York lady was like, oh, I've got to call her now. So she called me too, but after following me for a year. So the young lady that we just, from Los Angeles, that we just did this first podcast with, she shared her story. And I mean, when we had the call, it was just so powerful and magnetic, wasn't it?
Oh,
and
yeah.
and everything just shined through. And she called me later, and she's like, do we need to redo it? Did I talk too much? I mean, it was the cutest thing, but everything is really beautiful on it. And we're like, no, you nailed it. And we really wanted it to be, we want it to be about you. So when you join, it's going to be about you. It's going to be about your story and where you're going. And I think you're going to really find it inspirational.
Oh yeah, I'm so appreciative of you. I always try to make sure that I don't forget what the beginning was. You know, you never, you know, you always want to make sure that, you know, you as you're moving along, you take everybody with you, you know. That's what you know, my boards, and I mean, even people who Jim in the studio, even, Bob, what's his name? Judy from Judy Zombrowski. Is that his name? Zombrowski?
Yes.
I mean, you know, there's people who you have ideas and you want to do things and it just doesn't work, but you needed that connection at that particular time to move on. I never want to forget who helped us to get to this point where we are. You know,
I was thinking of Bob Mandel when you mentioned Bob.
Bob
Zabrowski is how I met you.
Yes, well, that's my point, you know, so, you know, everything happened. Bob and I were going to do the telethon. I mean, I forget even what it was, but it didn't work out. So I mean, I still appreciate him. We still have a relationship, but, you know, it just didn't work out. I mean, I'll give you another example. Adler's Aphasia Center and Maywood. You know, my vision when I went there, I sang and I gave a testimonial to bring them hope because there were people that had aphasia. And I walked around with Elaine, I believe that was her name.
Yes, I think so.
I'm blind. Elaine from Adler's Aphasia Center. Her husband suffered a major stroke, and we were walking around and they said, oh, we should do a telethon. Oh my God, we should do a telethon. And I really wanted to do it with them. And then I was talking to another confidant, he's like, Jeanette, and I'm like, why don't they want to do it? Why don't like I'm going on and on. But he just said, keep forging forward. Jeez,
and let's not forget, you wanted to do the telethon before you did any TV shows. And they said you have to do a TV show before you could do a telethon.
No, what happened really quickly was we were sitting, I was on Tommy Marr's show. And I asked him, I need an MC. Do you want to be the MC? He goes, oh, maybe. And I said, oh, well, maybe is not a no.
That's a definite.
So, to make a long story short, we're sitting at the meeting, and I'm talking about the telethon, and Bobby Baby Walker's talking about doing a show, and I'm like, what do you mean we're going to do a show? He goes, you have to do a show. He goes, show will be good. We have time to do a show, and really they all connected, because if I didn't do the show, then my telethon wouldn't have been as successful it was, because I got clients on and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the quick story behind that. But we're actually only have 3 minutes left, and we're so grateful for both of you. Ginny, do you want to share your input, because I know you've been sitting back and you've been really absorbing. Ginny is she's our telethon guru, the person that works at the telethon, and I know you've been absorbing what they've been saying. What's your recap on everything?
This is a whole new world for me. I mean, I know these foundations exist. And I've been part of a number of them over, as time goes by. New York Senior America is a not-for-profit. They're registered. So I don't have any questions or any input. Again, I'm just kind of absorbing this because at some point in my life, this may become very valuable, a very valuable source for me. Here's one, this is a very odd question, and because it's something from way back. I was part of a musical organization. This husband and wife had started, they had an international dance company and so on. And they were a 501c3. And they became quite elderly, and it was toward the end of what they wanted to do. And they said at that time, it seemed very difficult to close out a not-for-profit. Is that still the case, or have those things become a little bit easier over the years?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
I don't think it's any more difficult or less. The IRS position is, which we have to abide by, is that if an organization has assets, they have to go to another organization, another IRS approved, or a governmental entity, or something like a school. So if they had like musical equipment or whatever, that would be donated. And there was any money in the bank, that would go to another organization. And most of the time what happens though is that there's several different ways this goes down. One is a succession plan. So, younger members of a family take over, right? And so it becomes their calling. That's very common when you think about, other large organizations been around a long time. Another way is that they merge with an existing organization, and then that parent organization kind of takes over from there. So those are two of the exit strategies, I guess, that happen.
Actually, they both passed away. They were in their 90s, and this goes back a ways.
Yeah.
They're gone, and I guess the foundation just,
But the truth is, I'm sorry, Ginny, the truth is that it would be, that's another key to needing your help.
Right.
Because when I worked at a community one time, we had to dissolve an organization, and it wasn't mine, but it was this community's, and they didn't know what to do. So if we would have known to reach out to you, you could have assisted them in helping them close it out. So that's people don't think of that as well. That's a good key, Ginny. That's a good key. So we always like to give our wonderful guests the opportunity to really circle back, and what would you like to share with our audience?
Why don't you start?
Well, first of all, I think gratitude. We're very, very thankful to have us on. I think that people are thinking about starting a nonprofit, doing that legwork, the preliminary, why do they want to do it? What's their why? I think it's very fundamental. And then, if they're interested and they want to reach out to us, then of course we're open to, talk to people, have a conversation, tell them what it's about, how long it's going to take, what it's going to cost. We're very straightforward with how we do business. So that's why we don't have controversies, complaints, or anything. We're just, it is what it is. And I think laying it out in that way works well. We're direct, right? I guess you can pick that up. I think, the time is always now, right? Sometimes people are saying, well, I'll do it when. And, for some people, when doesn't happen, right? Life does some strange twists and turns. And as we know with what happened with COVID. So if there's something in people's hearts that they say, I've wanted to do this for a long time. Tricia and I used to talk about this all the time. When people would find us on Facebook, strangers, they'd always say one of two things. They'd say, I prayed about this, or I've thought about doing this for a long time. Always those two things. And so if somebody's, listening or watching this, and that's where they're at, reach out to us, right?
Yeah. And I would just like to express my love and my gratitude to all of you. And thank you so much for inviting us to be part of this with you and to reconnect again through Zoom. This was awesome to see each other and everything. So we're very appreciative for you letting us tell the world what we do. And we're more happy to have your love and you as a client and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. Before we run, I just want to recap on your organization. Could you let us know the name of that again and what the purpose is behind it?
So our organization is Nonprofit Advisor, and you can Google us. We're nonprofitadvisor.org, start a 501c3.org. You can contact us in many ways. You can type in our names and we'll pop right up. And we help people, create their life's purpose, help them find that journey to creating that foundation to fulfill on their life's purpose.
Wow. And you had a nonprofit though. What is your nonprofit's name?
Yes, our nonprofit is Contribution Revolution, and we're going to be, that's been around for several years, and we are going to be starting the podcast, and that's going to be quite exciting, and I'll be having you as a guest.
Yay.
What is the purpose for that nonprofit?
That one is different.
It's really to tell the story of other nonprofits. It's to encourage donations, volunteerism.
Kindness, compassion.
Yeah. Kindness, love, and compassion is kind of the tagline on it. So
Yeah.
let people know it's a pretty good world out there.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. Ginny, thank you for hopping on today. Judy, thank you for all the work you always do to make this show run. And Jim, thank you for hopping on today and doing the back end. We're so blessed. We're so blessed. And what a show. Like it makes me warm to feel that we have so many wonderful people, and we have met so many wonderful people along our way as well. And just to have connected with Tricia Mark personally today, because it really was via the phone the entire time.
Yeah.
And so it's such a blessing, and I can't wait to meet you in person at your huge
I know.
gathering.
It's
Maybe
going to be fun.
Maybe we'll combine it at Yankee Stadium. Who knows? And all the singers can sing together. It's about coming together. That's
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
We'll lift the roof. So thank you so much.
Do it at City Field. As a Mets fan, let's do it at City Field.
As long as it's a baseball field or softball field, I'm an advocate for baseball and softball. I'm actually thinking about asking my town to do a little fundraiser concert right on the town. So hope you'll all join me. So we always blow our kisses. We're so blessed. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. What a show to have on right before Thanksgiving. It truly is a blessing. And on 3, we always blow our kisses. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everybody. God bless.
Bye.
God bless you all.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.